All right, 7th grade, it's time to get started with our math lessons, and we are now on lesson 1.1. This is all about adding integers that have the same sign. So integers, just as a quick reminder, are they include the set of whole numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, none of the in-betweens like fractions or decimals, just whole numbers. But what they add to the set of whole numbers is they include the negatives, -1, -2, -3. So we're just going to be dealing with our negatives again, positives and negative whole numbers. And today we're going to learn how to add those two integers together. And for me, when I'm adding and subtracting, adding integers, I find it useful to think of those integers as money. For example, anything positive, like +3 in money terms, would in my mind be what I have in my pocket. That's a pocket. Pretend that's a pocket. The money that I have in my pocket, I've got $3 in my pocket, so that's good. Anything negative would be money that I owe somebody or money that I need to pay, money that's going to go out. So negative numbers in my mind would be what I owe or need to pay, and positive numbers would be what I have in my pocket. And to me, that makes it the easiest. My brain wraps around that pretty easily. So for some of you, it might be the same. So if I'm doing 3 plus 4, which you guys already know is 7, but it's a +3 plus a +4. I have $3. I get 4 more. That's 7. If I owe $5, and then I go and I borrow $3 more, I'm going to owe more money, right? Because I already owed money and now I owe even more. So I will owe how much? Yeah, you're right. I'm going to owe $8. So for me, using that idea of money in this lesson helps a lot. But if it doesn't, there's other ways that this lesson shows you so that something will click with you in your brain, and then eventually you won't need any tool. You'll know the answer to them after some time practicing. All right, so one method is using the counters, those little yellow and red little counters. Here's my fancy counters that I have created. So you could use those little manipulative coin, yellow on one side, red on one side counters. So if I had something, and like I said, I know you know what 3 plus 4 is, but just for the modeling purposes, I'm using one of these counters, one of these positive counters to represent every positive number. So if I have 3 plus 4, I'm going to have 3 positives and 4 positives, and then I can just count those up, and that is 8 positives. And if I have -5 plus -3, notice they'd put this parenthesis here only because in math, a lot of times they don't like to have one operation sign next to another operation sign. And so they just kind of put that there to kind of say, oh, just don't get confused there. And we won't, but okay, so that's all that means. So I have a -5 plus a -3. So I put -5 tiles down here, or whatever those coins are called, coins. And then I put 3 negative coins down here, and then I just add them up, so -8. You're probably starting to notice a pattern that, Miss Sanchez, do you just add them together and put the sign on it? Pretty much, yeah. And you'll get more comfortable with that as it comes along. If your signs are the same, like notice on this, both of these were positive. And we just added them together, and both of them were positive, so it stayed a positive. In this case, both of these were negative, so we just added them together and put the negative sign on there. Yeah, if the signs are the same, that's pretty much what you're doing. And then finally, another way, and I will tell you, like everybody, I work with kids all the time and people all the time, and one thing clicks with one person but another, and so something else will click with them. So you'll find your way to which one makes the most sense for your brain. So another way they'll show us in this book is to use a number line, and they used this example in with a word problem where we had a temperature that was -2 degrees or 2 degrees below 0, which would be -2, and then it dropped by 5 degrees, which would be a -5 that we put together. So we're really looking at a -2 added to a -5. is what we're looking at there. So it was at -2 degrees, or was 2 below 0, so that's -2. It dropped by 5 degrees, which is -5. So we're putting those two numbers together. And they said another way, other than the counters or other than the money, is to use a number line. Oh, sorry, I messed up that one number line, so I just went with a new one again. And I will start at the -2 on the number line here. And then I will move negative direction, which would be to the left, by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I will end up at -7. The new temperature will be -7. You can do a horizontal number line, or you can do a vertical number line, which I provided for you in your notes to take a look at. But if number lines work for you, then that's good to use. Finally, the last part kind of goes into what I mentioned earlier. What you'll notice is I'm just adding those together, aren't I? They say, well, you can just add the absolute values and then give the sign they both had. And in case you wondered what they meant by absolute values, remember way back, absolute values were just that temporary permission to take the sign of the positive or negative off of the number. So let's see. If I had -7, I am going to call the absolute value of -7 just 7. Obviously, you get so used to it, you're not writing these steps down. And then I have the absolute value of -6, which is just 6, the temporary permission to take the signs off. I add those two together. 7 plus 6 is 13. And then I just go back and deal with that sign. They're both negative, so I'm giving it a negative sign. So that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier is, yeah, basically you just add the numbers together if the signs are the same. Now, next lesson, we'll talk about what to do when they're different. But for this lesson, if they're both positive, you're going to get a positive answer, add them together. If they're both negative, you're going to get a negative answer, add them together. And that's it for this lesson. And if you need more practice with me, feel free to let me know.